What's up, cookies? I've tried to make the intro to this video 3 times now, and every single time I've gotten a notification on my phone. I just went ahead and turned that shit off for real because what the hell? Today I just wanted to talk about basically. I know the title of the video is kind of misleading, but it's really just about friendships today and why they're kind of weird, and kind of difficult to navigate. Um, And I just want to start out by saying I am somebody who can talk about this because I have actually been with completely zero friends before. And I think that that's a unique thing, um, that lets me kind of speak on this issue. First things first, drink today is Starbucks protein coffee. It's got 20 grams of protein, so it's not that crazy in terms of protein coffees. But pretty great, honestly. I fuck with it for real. Um, but no, so yeah, first things first, I've been there. I've been with zero friends before. Um, there was a time in my life, when I was younger, of course, where I do distinctly remember having nobody who I could actually like call and say like, "Hey, want to go to the mall?" or "Hey, want to hang out?" Nobody like that. Not that I was hated or not that people didn't know me. I just didn't have any friends, I wouldn't say. And that was completely my own doing, by the way. And I think most people who don't have friends, um, I mean, it's always your own doing in some way, shape, or form. The question is it for your, is it because you have good high standards, which is the case for most people, or is it just the fact that maybe you're misinformed, which is the case for even more people, I'd actually say, or is it actually just the case that you can't find them, which is pretty rare, I would say. I would say it's very, very unlikely that it's not like in some way, shape, or form your not fault, but caused by you. Because there's no fault in, of course, having high standards. The reason that I had no friends, I won't get into in this video, but I will get into it in another video for sure, probably. For sure, probably. Wow, how beautiful is that one? But basically, the reason I think they're so difficult today is, well, people are more transactional than ever. Um, and this isn't me dogging on people, um, anything of the like. I just believe in science, and sociology says, the social exchange theory, for example, which I will have on screen probably. Um, I mean, it's clear as day. People, people go into and you go into every social situation expecting something out of another person. Now, if I say hello, I expect you in some way, shape, or form to say, hello back. And if you do something for a friend, you expect in some way, shape, or form for them to, return the favor in some way. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing at all. But I do think that people nowadays more than ever are malicious with their intent with people. Um, of course, like you invite your friend out, you expect them to give it, at least some strong thought to come. In a sense, that is transactional. In a sense, every single situation, every friendship is also transactional. Um, but this goes both ways. Some people, myself included, back in the day, we don't think about sometimes how our words affect other people, which I know sounds like such a silly thing to say, but I promise I'm going somewhere with this. Um, what I'm trying to say is people are really fragile, and that's fine. It's a good thing, even. It shows that they have some sort of heart, and that they've been hurt before. But people, I think, are super fragile now, because of all the ungenuine people out there. And social media kind of exemplifies the ungenuineness of people for sure, I would say. Um, But people are fragile and they want you to like them, and they want to know that you like them, explicitly. And you can never stop telling them, it's almost like exhausting. Uh, but for instance, if you are invited to something and you don't go, you're like, I'm not gonna make it or something. Um, they will take that very, very seriously and very, very to heart, I feel, um, more than ever, because people don't know how to genuinely make an effort to let people know, hey, I either don't want to come or I can't come, but I'd love it if you invited me out some other time. I value your friendship. I don't want you to think, and that's really like, I don't want you to think, I feel ill about you or I didn't want to come because I don't like you. And that's really all it takes. And that's not that big of a deal. I mean, you could call me a snowflake for caring about people's feelings or whatever that it is that you need to, tell yourself. But I'm telling you, man, that's all that people require. They really just want to know that you like them and like hanging around them. Um, so take advantage of that. Not take advantage of people, of course. Take advantage of the fact that you will be the only one thinking about them this way. You know, be genuine in your connections when nobody else is. Because again, and I'll kind of flow into this point in a minute here. People, I value quality relationships, because they will, and I mean it's so corny, right? Like, of fucking course everybody says that, like, oh, I want quality over quantity, and you have the fucking shit in the background, on Instagram or whatever the fuck that they post on, where they have that shit on their story or whatever. Real ones will slide up. Like, this shit is so wacky. But what I'm trying to say is, um people too who have who are good at making friends, um they typically value a quantity of friends, like a lot of friends. Which, don't get me wrong, I love crowded parties. I love crowded spaces, full of people who you love, who you get along with, who you think will just, have a good time with. Everybody loves that. Everybody wants to be surrounded by a lot of people that they love. Um, well, not everybody, but people who are kind of a little bit more on the extroverted side, like me, um, that's like the dream, to have like large gatherings and this and that. Um, but again, you can't really have that and be genuine in all of your connections. You can, but it takes a long time to get there. And for me, it's been, I wouldn't say it's been difficult actually making friends. College is a great place to make friends. Um, and I'm doing better mentally than I was years and years ago, because I was talking like I was little, like teenager when I'm saying that as if I didn't just turn 20. But I was like mega teenager, like 14, 15 age, when I had literally zero, and I'm talking actually zero. Like, I know people say that, but I'm genuinely mean it. um Zero friends. Um, but one day I just decided, like, hey, this isn't, the way to live life anymore. I don't have to keep beating myself up about this thing, which again I'll get into in another video. Um, so starting from this point has been really, really weird and really, really difficult, because you talk to other people and they're like, oh, I'm pulling up with, my squad or this or whatever. You know, it's kind of hard for me to say something like that because a lot of my connections are relatively new. That's not to say they're not good friends, or anything like that. Um, it's just kind of difficult to have that relationship with people, especially when you start late. You know, So that's just a little bit about, how to take advantage of it, but I want to get a little bit more into it, if that makes sense. Like actually down into the sociology of it all, because it's really quite simple. It's relatively easy. Really, all you have to do is make genuine connections, invite people to things. Um, Another thing too is, and psychology says this again. I will try to pull it up and show y'all what I'm talking about. When you ask people for favors, they tend to like you more. Now, I'm not asking. No, I'm not saying you should, ask them to, can you drive me to this place 2 hours away? People have actually asked me that before, because that's another thing is people are ungenuine and they, you know, they'll use you for stuff. But I'll get into that in a second. I'm not I'm not asking you to, do those crazy things. But what I'm trying to say is, um, again, psychology says things like that, tend to make people like you more. But going past psychology, or I guess not past, but going past, things that I've read to this date, something that I feel, is very important is uh simply just making the first maneuver to like get to know somebody or like invite them to something, tell them, like maybe it's a coworker or something. um you'll never you'll never lose out on anything by asking somebody to do that. And I get that that's easier said than done. People have anxiety about these sorts of things, and people don't like getting shot down. It's true. But again, you have to realize that's a choice you're making. If you choose to not go out and ask people and try to make connections and make friends, you have to be okay with not making friends. And that's just plain and simple. That is the rule. Because if you won't be the person to go out, ask questions, make connections, meet people and invite them to something, take the final step of inviting them to something, um it's now the blame is on you. You are the reason that you don't have these connections with people. And that's not me being like mean or anything. That's just a decision that you have to make in the moment. And I hope that helps somebody. Genuinely, I do. I hope that this video helps somebody. I mean, that's why I have this fucking channel, because it's kind of tough love in a sense, because I've been there. Um, I have been very, very much without, friends. And like even right now, college isn't in session, so I don't have that many people to hang out with anymore. But again, I meet new people, make new friends every day because I ask people, I meet people, I say hello, I'm kind. And I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm not saying I'm a good person. Um, I think so, but that's a question that you have to all ask yourselves. Um, And the only person that really cares how good of a person you are is you at the end of the day. So just make sure, you are the good person that you think you are. But I digress. What I'm trying to talk about, or what I'm trying to say to, the last thing I'll say is people are super ungenuine right now, which I said earlier. But I mean, people will use you. If you are the kind of person to go out to do this kind of stuff, um, to invite people to things, to have parties, etc., go to parties, you'll get used by some people. That's another thing you have to be okay with. And again, all of these things that I'm saying you have to be okay with, isn't for every friend. This is just if you wanted to make a lot of friends, It's not a bad thing to be shelter your heart or shelter your peace. Genuinely, it's not. I'm just saying this is the easiest way to do things. You will get taken advantage of at some point. That is the sad reality of it. you just can't lose hope that good people are out there, because they are. Um, but yeah, that has been me, Lurbo Turbo Furbo. Song of the day is "Are" and "You Kissing Anyone," and it's spelled really, really weird. It's like the letter R, the letter U, kissing any, and then the letter, or the number one, rather. One is not a letter. One is a number. It's by Joey Cash. I mean, people say he's like a poser EDM artist. He low key kind of is, but like not really. It's good music. I think it's good music. Um, yeah, me and my girlfriend went storm chasing, and we were listening to that song, and I haven't really been able to get it out of my head. It's a great song, honestly. But yeah, I really hope this video helps somebody. Kind of. I hope actually the part that's most important to me is like getting over the fear of rejection. Um, because genuinely, you have to sit down and ask yourself, and you have to let yourself know what you're missing out on. Am I going to let my fear of rejection stop me from making good, genuine connections with people and following them through and making good friends? Like, you are missing out on the half of life, friendship, like the marrow of life, pretty much, in my opinion. You are missing out on the marrow of life simply because you're scared. And that's kind of that's really the, like, that's the fucking nuclear, what's that shit, the truth nuke, like, that's the truth nuke, man. All right, it's time I ended this video because I'm going insane. My bad. Mook, mook, mook.